Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Hugo's Desk. Hope you are all today all good. Can see a lot of familiar faces in the chat. So today it's the radio show, as we've been doing for quite a while now, and I am simultaneously broadcasting on YouTube and also on Twitch at the same time. So great! I can see that people are already saying the sound is good and the video is good. So today this radio show is all about, it's not sponsored, it's like a stream that I do to talk with the community, and it's all about you guys. So basically anyone can call in the show. I'll share the link in a second on the chats. I'll put them on both chats. It's up to you if you want to watch it on Twitch or if you want to watch it on YouTube. So I'll put the link. It's a video. It's basically an audio call-in show. So it's going to be a Google link, and I'm not going to use webcams. So it's only audio only for everyone. It's today. It's a free microphone, really. There's no topics today. We can talk about anything regarding visual effects. We can talk about visual effects, the state of the industry, AI, machine learning, compositing, CG, anything you want, anything you like. I just ask for everyone to make sure it's a constructive conversation. Please, let's make sure that we're all very nice to each other. And also, of course, make sure you're brief. We always have a lot of people that want to talk in. A lot of people always want to check into the call. So if you're going to call in, be sure to, don't spend too much time, since I want to make sure I give voice to everyone. But this is really what this is about. It's a place where people have a space to be heard regarding your comments, your concerns, anything really that you would like to put in. One quick little thing I just wanted to mention before we begin is that don't forget that Monday I'm doing the final showreel review for this season. For not this season, but I think for a couple of weeks now. I think I'm only going to restart it the month after. So the final showreel review will be on the 21st of April, which is Monday. So if you want to join, I'll be here. We have one person booked already, but there is still one slot free. So if you want to be part of this showreel review, be sure to call in and make sure you don't forget that if you go to the links of all the showreel reviews, there is the links for you for the booking system, for you to book your slot. There's also the links for the uploading of the Dropbox showreel. So, it's up to you. If you can't find the links, they're all on every showreel review. The links are on the description of the video. But if you can't find the links, just contact me on social media. I'm happy to help you as I can. There's also going to be a giveaway as well. Didn't do a banner for it today, but the giveaway will be the link that I just posted on both chats. It's also on the top of the chat as well. So yeah, and if you are considering supporting the show or supporting my streams, don't forget that you can become a member on YouTube. That supports the show. It's only $1, £1. You can also become a Patreon as well, which allows you to talk to me privately. I also sometimes give some free stuff there. So you can also become a Patreon. You can also support the VFX Notes podcast, which also has a Patreon. So there's a lot of ways of supporting the show, a lot of ways of supporting. You can also become a Twitch subscriber, which is free if you have Amazon Prime. Yeah, so just be sure, if you like the show, if you like these streams, be sure to support and make sure, so that I can continue making them. Really, that's really all why I'm asking that, really, nothing more. And there's a lot of ways of supporting the show. As I said, Patreon members, you can also buy my course as well. And also you can buy Anna's book, Green Recipes for All. So there's a lot of ways of supporting the show as you want. I'm not going to go through all the links. During the break, you'll see the videos. During the break, there will be a video for the course. There will be a video for Anna's book. There will be a video for all the things that I've just mentioned. So without further ado, I just wanted to start the conversation rolling. So I'm going to share the link. Please be aware that this is going to be first come, first serve. So Don't despair if you don't get in right away. But there's always a lot of people to get into the talk. We already have almost 40 people watching the streams on both places. So if you want to get in, it will be a first come, first serve. Keep in mind that I will try my best to notice who's first, because Google Meet doesn't really have a way of it doesn't really have an order. So it just pops up the names. So I apologize if I miss someone. But if anyone wants to get into the chat, if they want to call in to the show, since this is a call-in show, and discuss anything, you can do so. Okay, so I have one already here. So let me just make a mark here so that I don't forget that this is someone that wants to call in. And I'm going to bring them in, and let's see what happens. We already have our first contestant. I didn't mean to mention it as a contestant, but okay, so let's just bring them in. I already have two, actually, but we're going to do the first one that showed up. So I'm going to bring them in. Hello there. Can you hear me?
Hi, Hugo. Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, hi, Peter. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. How about you?
I'm good. So, Peter.
We have spoken before.
What did you say?
So we have spoken before.
I know. It was just like, wasn't it on 2 shows ago or something like that, wasn't it? I think it was like 2 shows ago. Yeah. So, as I usually say, apologies, I can't share my webcam with you because I'm already sharing it on 2 streams. But yeah. So why don't you, for the audience that doesn't maybe remember you, tell us, only if you want to, of course. Give us a little shout out where you're calling from and your name and everything.
I'm in the southwest of the UK, cool. Currently in Wiltshire. I'm a filmmaker. I started off as a commercial drone flying school owner and instructor, and then when the likes of DJI started including cameras on their drones, it caused me to get into filmmaking because everyone coming through the door wanted me to tell them how to be creative and how to make films. So that led me on the path. I'm now also a fully fledged member of the Guild of Television Camera Professionals here in the UK.
Ah, cool.
And various other things. I'm also an ambassador for a suite of products called Cyberlink Director Suite, which is, power director, photo director, that kind of thing. So I use that, not exclusively, but for the most part. Cool. So I've been in and around the industry for about 15 years or so now.
Okay, cool. And Peter, thank you so much for the intro. Peter, tell me a little bit about what would you like to talk about?
Well, I mean, there are 2 prongs to my question, or my discussion point, I think. First of all, and one leads into the other. The first one is, having gone through COVID and having everything shut down for a period of a couple of years, basically, do you think we're now over the hump of people rushing to produce content that they weren't able to do during that time?
Well, I definitely think the COVID thing is gone now, and the productions are back to normal. We don't really... Very rarely I go to a production where I still have to use a mask or even do a test. It's very rare. It still happens once in a while, but it's definitely most of it gone in most countries that we used to film and do things. So I think the COVID stuff is not really relevant, I believe.
But I mean, the fact is that everything ground to a complete halt while we had COVID.
Yeah.
And now, if you look at the 2025 calendar of movies coming out, particularly, for example, there are a good number of them which are just all kinds of things coming out, from another Top Gun to all kinds of things, which I guess they're still trying to put together and produce and now, where they should have been done about 2 or 3 years ago. Things like one of the James Bond was delayed by 18 months through COVID.
Mad Max as well. Furiosa was done during COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So do you think we're over the hump? All these people, all these studios are desperately trying to produce content that they weren't able to do before, which means the workload is going to blip. It's going to go up, but then it will stabilize. And I'm not convinced we're over the hump of that yet.
Yeah. Well, we're still getting films done from that time, for sure. Because productions, these days now, post-production takes such a long time that we often get films that have been on editing floors, on post-production, for 2 or 3 years, depending on how complex the visual effects are. we've already mentioned Furiosa is an example of that. It was completely done during COVID. We had Civil War, which was done during COVID as well. It only came out, last year. So we had a lot of films. I think we're still seeing movies done from that time because post-production schedules are now taking so long. If we're going over the hump or not, I think we are, and I think things are kind of back to filming, but there is a new problem, I think, on the horizon, and actually two problems which is happening. The first problem that I'm experiencing from my own productions and also from talking with people in the industry is that the budgets are quite more limited, and because of that, things are quite difficult right now for you to kind of produce exactly what you wanted to do. So you have these really, really gigantic lavish productions that take 200 million, 300 million, but then on the other side you just have really tiny productions. So it looks to me like we've lost the middle ground of productions of a little bit cheaper. I'm talking about, of course, bigger films from Hollywood and from bigger productions in Europe and everything. Of course, there's a ton of productions being done all over the world that have a much smaller budget. I think budgets are becoming a problem, and there's a lot of companies really waiting a little bit to see and investing and checking what AI can bring to the table and how they can leverage that technology to make cheaper productions. There's a lot of that going on as well. So I kind of feel that we are on... I feel like we are in a waiting game to see who pulls the trigger first in regards to AI, and also the strikes also didn't help at all. We are still suffering from the strikes. In fact, we still have, especially the games industry still has a lot of problems regarding the strikes, and so I think it's not over yet. I think but there's definitely a bit of light into the tunnel in certain countries, especially the countries that have now tax rebates. And, example, in the UK, we now have a tax rebate for 9 years from the 1st of April. It started just now, where you can basically rebate the production, I think up to 40%, I believe, if the production is shot here, if it uses at least 50% of visual effects companies in the UK. So there's a lot of that in rebates in UK, rebates in France, rebates in Canada. There's a lot of countries kind of joining the rebate war. So I think if it picks up, it will most likely be to the end of the year, not now, because I think things are still kind of like starting up quite a lot, So I think maybe more especially now with the rebates, especially I can talk from experience from the UK market. I think a lot of companies are now starting those productions they can use with the rebates. And so we won't see any fruits of that until the end of the year, I believe,
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I would say, to your point on budgets being spread thinly, my belief on that is still that we're still trying to produce more content with the same amount of money. Therefore, per project, the budgets are thinner. And that leads on to my next point, is what impact do you think Trump's nonsense in terms of tariffs and whatnot in the States is going to force the larger, or any production house for that matter, to move their production and their producing content away from America to other countries around the world?
Well, I think the Trump debacle that is happening right now is something that is going to affect the world's financial structure in a very big way, mainly because it's all connected, so it affects in a way, although it's not a complete direct connection because we don't use we're not buying things and we're not moving assets out in the United States, out into China. So it's more like a service thing because we're doing productions and we don't really rely on physical goods or physical objects to do that. It might have some problems in terms of technology, but it's all very confusing because their tariffs, they were supposed to be full, and then there was exclusions with technology and chips and graphic cards and iPhones. So there's like exclusions, but then other things are not excluded. It's all a bit of a mess, and I think it will, if anything, even if it doesn't affect, it will give a lot of strength to companies to up their prices because they have the perfect excuse to just put the prices up. Because it's a bit like when COVID showed up. It was an excellent way of them just putting the prices all the way up, even if they didn't really need to. I think the tariffs are going to be an excuse for a while now. But I don't think it will completely directly affect the visual effects in the film industry, because there's so many exemptions that have to do with some of the technology we use, like graphic arts, computers, chips, memories, iPhones, cameras. All that kind of technology is actually not being tariffed, which is bizarre. The whole thing is just, it's a mess, and I don't think it's sustainable. It might be over in a while. I don't believe it will continue. Now we have these 90-day pauses, but it's, I don't know, man. It's a bit unsure. To your point about the United States, though, it definitely makes the country itself less sustainable for people to wanting to travel there and also to wanting to have business with it. It is an unfortunate side effect that a lot of people are probably going to look into it and think, oh, well, maybe let's just shoot somewhere else instead of going to the States, like something that we wanted to do. That was already happening, but I think that will even be more. That's already happening with tourism. There's recently I saw an article. Can't remember which newspaper, one of the UK newspapers, which were saying there was a drop of 20% in tourism going to the United States because of that, just because people don't feel comfortable going there, So that's...
Well, I mean, many governments around the world, Europe included, were issuing advice, weren't they, on travelling to the States?
Exactly. Exactly.
So, I mean, my own view on that is a lot of them, the big production houses like Hollywood, Disney, Netflix, all those sorts of organisations will very seriously start looking at producing content outside of America.
Yeah, but to be honest, Peter, like, the content was already not that, like, there was so much content produced outside the United States already. So I think we already know that there's a lot of countries in Europe that are much cheaper to shoot, and there's places in Iceland, places in Scotland, places in the north of Europe that are being really used for productions. Australia as well, and even Namibia and desert locations in Africa. There's a lot of shooting now happening in different places because it's just too expensive to shoot in the United States, mainly because of the unions, and you have to have the whole crew has to be settled exactly by the union rules, and it becomes really difficult for you to. We are talking about such small margins. Everything is being done with like small percentages of profits. So a lot of times it's just really difficult for them to afford to film in the United States because of that. Not all productions, of course, some are, and a lot of TV shows are still done there, and a lot of syndication TV shows are done there. But I do believe that it's no surprise that you see so many movies being filmed outside because of that, especially because the playing field has been kind of average now, because a lot of these countries, it used to be that if you wanted the experienced crew to film, you would go to the States or to go to the UK. And that's not the case anymore. Now you have incredibly experienced crews in Germany. You have incredibly experienced crews in Slovakia, in Portugal. There's a lot of countries that now have good crews also working there. And so everything is a bit like on the same playing field now. It's not the same as it was 20 years ago or 15 years ago, where you had to go to a certain place to have the actual best of the best to do some kind of film,
Yeah, true. Yeah. I think a lot of them, like ILM, I think, is one of the forefront of VFX to a certain extent. That was conceived in America, wasn't it, many years ago? But you say outside of America, like Europe, UK, there's a lot of companies I know of in London which are pretty good, and sort of top flight VFX companies which are pioneering more advanced technologies.
Yeah, we have so many companies in Europe as well, so many in Germany, and we have, of course, then you have New Zealand, also a lot of studios opened up in Australia. Things are just not the same as it used to be. The whole thing of the center of VFX in Soho or the center of VFX in LA. It's gone. Like, it's not really happening anymore. So I think things are much more democratic now, and there's a lot of other places in play, especially because, man, if you just look at Netflix and you see the quality of the international shows that are there. If you go and watch German TV shows, or if you go and watch Spanish TV shows, they're so high quality now, and it's nothing like it used when I was younger. They were all a bit crap, and the whole thing was just such a huge difference between a TV show done in the United States or a TV show done in Europe. Now you can't even tell them apart. It's only the language that you really notice the difference, because they're shot with the same cameras and the same technology and the same grading and the same really experienced crews as well. So and sometimes they're even better because they have something new to the table. There's like some new creativity that they brought in to the shows as well. So I think it's nice. It's exciting, but yeah, I hope I'm right with the return. I really hope so. I hope that we get a more stable industry more to the end of the year. I know it doesn't really help all the people that are unemployed right now, but because it is quite dramatic what's happening right now. But the fact of the matter is that we have more and more streaming services. We have more and more channels and more films and more everything. Someone has to do all these movies. I think that the studios are also kind of recalibrating, because they're starting to see that these 200 million budget films don't really work out as they want. Like Furiosa was 150 million, didn't really make his money back. You look at all the Marvel movies lately, they don't really make their money back. There's a lot of movies that are barely breaking even, and some of them are not even, like Snow White was a big loss for the studio. So they also have to recalibrate and start doing films in a different way as well, I think. Because I also think there's a lot of waste in these movies as well, in the way that they are made. And definitely I think budgets are getting reflected by that, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, is it going to change the balance of real life production using real actors or versus VFX?
Yeah.
Is it not going to be more VFX driven than real life actors?
Maybe. I mean, it depends really how it goes, because there's a lot of the whole thing with AI and the way that they're trying, especially the tech bros, trying to force this idea that cinema is over and that we can just do everything automatically. It's all very pretty and all very interesting and all very nice, but there's a huge hump that you have to go across with the audience. The audience doesn't like that, and they don't really like AI. It's really a dirty word. People really react negative. They already reacted negatively to CG and VFX. They already did that. And so AI is just going to have the same reaction. People really don't like the uncanny valley, and they really the studios really suffer when they are showing a film that has been overworked or over stylized or over CG'd. That really happens, and you see so many examples of that over the last few years. We have Furiosa was one of those, and The Flash was another one like that. Snow White was another one. There's so many films that lately I've really went through the ringer because the audience just didn't want it or didn't accept it. And then on the other spectrum of it, there's Minecraft, which I haven't watched it yet, but it sounds like it's not a very good movie, but it kind of exploded, really. And, so it's a strange time, because it seems to me that it's really difficult to understand what will be a hit and what not will be a hit, because the audiences are not only so fragmented, because you have so many audiences and so many people watching, that you can't get everyone to watch one thing. You just have clusters of people watching a lot of things. And so they just have to reinvent these studios and make content that is cheaper and connected to smaller audiences. I think that's really the only way to go, so yeah.
I mean, do you not think that you mentioned Minecraft there? Do you not think the lines between games and the movies are blurring a little bit. I mean, if you look on Netflix, for example, they made a big thing about, I think it's Halo, isn't it? They did a series
That was from
based on the game.
That was from Paramount, not Netflix.
Yeah.
But it's not a very good show though. But I understand what you mean with The Last of Us, with Halo, with Minecraft now, and Super Mario Bros. And Gran Turismo, and now we have Until Dawn as well. The world the Gran Turismo. We've been flooded with game-related films and TV shows lately. You have Fallout as well. Some good, some bad. It really depends on the type of film. But that really just proves that they are looking into this pie of the games industry, which is much bigger than the films industry now. The games industry gives so much more profit and so much more money than the films industry right now. It's been years and years now. I think it's been at least 5 or 6 years since it's past the films industry. So I think they're just like looking into that and thinking, oh shit, we should use these IPs because then people come and watch the movies. I think it will be it's difficult because a game is not really very well suited for. I'll give you an example, like The Last of Us. I've played all The Last of Us, one of my favorite games. I played both of them, all the different incarnations that it had, the remasters and the remakes and everything. And it's an exceptional game, exceptional narrative. But then as a film or as a TV show, I don't know. I mean, I was a bit disappointed by The Last of Us TV show because it's a carbon copy of the game. I understand a lot of people don't play the game. But why would I watch a carbon copy of the game if I can just play the game? It's a bit... For me, it was just a waste of resources and a waste of time. But I'm wrong, of course, because everyone loves it. But I feel like if you talk with people that really love the game, I don't know if they're that happy with the show. Because it's literally just a copy-paste exercise of using the game as a storyboard to do the TV show. And it doesn't really work, because a game is a game. You're playing the game. You're interacting with the game. So it's not really the same. I'm a bit uncertain about this way of doing films based on games. So
Yeah. I mean, I think the industry has been the other way around for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
In other words, they have made games based on movies, Star Wars, Indiana Jones more recently, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So now they're thinking, well, if we could do it that way around, why not the other way around and take a game and make it into a TV program or a movie?
Yeah, absolutely. I know. But, it's a bit like, now I just saw the news. My favorite game is Death Stranding for the last 10 years. I'm so disappointed they're going to make a game out of it, like a film out of it. I mean, come on. That game is a 150-hour long experience. How are you going to make a film out of that? How are you going to distill 150 hours into a 2 hours movie? It's never going to be deep enough. It's never going to really do the same to me the game did. It's really, I really wish that they would stay away from each other. Film is a film, a game is a game. I don't believe that they should be together. They're different things. They're just different things. Do you not think that they're actually viewing it as though the movie is just like an advert for the game? Well, I'm sure HBO is doing that with The Last of Us for sure, because they had a huge bump on sales on The Last of Us when the show came out. So that's probably right. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about the intricacies of HBO and Naughty Dog to know exactly what's happening. But I just feel it's a good TV show. But if the game didn't exist, it's just an average TV show. That's the thing. And even if you look at the story that is on that TV show, it's nothing mind-blowing about it. It's literally like just a zombie story that we've seen so many times everywhere. So it's because most games are inspired by movies. And so you're having a game that was inspired by movie to make a game, but then you make a TV show that is inspired on the game that was inspired by a TV movie. So it's like a second-hand, third-hand rate thing that is already happening, unless it's an objectively creative thing that is happening. I think the only moment where we saw a little bit of brilliance with the games, movies thing, and it wasn't even that good, was what Black Mirror did with the TV show. Like they did an episode, a special episode called Bandersnatch. I think it's called Bandersnatch. I think that's the name. And where it was an interactive thing. You could watch the TV show and then you can select options and then you would get different outcomes on the TV show depending on what the options you did. Almost like an interactive novel from the 70s or the 80s. And that worked really well. It was quite nice. The show itself wasn't very good, so it didn't really set the world on fire, but it's an interesting idea to test. And so I would much prefer for them to focus on something novel like that than just doing what they always do, which is just try to translate like a 100-hour experience into an hour film. You saw what happens with Borderlands. Borderlands is this gigantic game that takes 200 hours to play. There's like 5 of them, and then they make a movie. It's one of the worst movies ever made. It has like 15 on Rotten Tomatoes. It doesn't even work. It doesn't transfer. It doesn't really, transfer.
No. I mean, some games, some movies or games or both, they come out with a hit, and others, as you say, it's just a complete flop. And whichever it's going to end up as is anyone's guess, depending on A, the franchise and how popular it is, how big it is, etc., and B, who they've got actually behind the game or the movie or whoever or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Peter, I'm gonna say to you that let's move on. I already have 3 more. I have 3 more people already on the list. So.
Okay. All right. Well, it's good to talk to you again, Hugo.
It was great talking to you, Peter. Thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome.
No problem. Okay. Cool. So I already have a lot of people calling in here, so I wasn't expecting so many people. So I'm going to bring in who I think was the next one online. So Peter, you can hang up if you want.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to bring who I think is the next online because we had people coming in and leaving, and now I just saw that someone just waited a bit and then left again. So I'm going to bring, maybe they can return, and I'm going to see if they can come in. So I'm going to bring here, see here. Hello there, can you hear me? William, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about you, Hugo?
I'm good. I see that you have been waiting for a while there, so apologies for that. So why don't you tell us a little bit, where are you calling from and your name and everything?
Yeah, so my name is William. I'm calling from France.
Cool.
And yeah, I have I'm gonna try to be quick, but I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that I had before. I mean, I've been listening to the previous radio shows.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes you're quite optimistic, but sometimes you're less optimistic about the industry. And I'm a student, visual effects student, on my last year, and I wanted to know if you have any advice. What would be the advice that you would give to students regarding the state of the industry at the moment?
So are you concerned because you're right, you haven't started working, right? Like you're still studying. How long are you gonna how much more time do you need to finish?
2 months actually. We are
2
working
months.
on our
Okay. So William, I mean, I know sometimes I'm positive, sometimes I'm negative because I do also have a lot of different thoughts multiple times. Sometimes I get a bit more positive about things, and sometimes some other thing just brings me down in certain things. It's a bit weird right now, the industry. It kind of has its ups and downs, which is unfortunate. But my advice to you, William, like really right now, I think that we are on a turning point of the industry, and the only advice I can give you is to just be on alert to see what's happening with the industry because it can switch quite quickly. And so what I mean by that is for example, what are your best skill sets, would you say?
I'll say lighting, comp.
Lighting and
mostly
comp?
lighting, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm focusing on other stuff at the moment.
And what kind of softwares are you using at the moment?
We do a lot of Houdini, Solaris at the moment because of we do all the scene assembly on Houdini.
Okay.
And yeah, compositing just regular Nuke.
Okay. Well, my best advice to you would be not to give up, William. I think that the industry will stabilize at some point. And as a lighter and compositor myself, I would say to you that the most important thing you should really focus your attention into would be the most core skills you can learn as possible. So forgetting a bit about the software that you're using or what kind of technology you're using, either being a traditional CG technology or traditional or an AI technology, it's really important for you to really own in and focus in lighting, basics of lighting, which can be learned through photography, and they can be learned through books, and they can be learned by taking photos and understanding cameras and lenses. And I really would advise you to also learn composition through learning through art and through painters and masters of painting and going to exhibitions of art and really trying to own into your way to have a good eye, because the most important thing in the lighting and compositing environment is to notice things and to also notice them and then make something about them, and not only have a sense of taste in how to make different types of looks and different types of looks developments depending on the clients you have, but also have a good strong sense of how light works and the realism of light and the realism in compositing and composition, not compositing, composition. Those core skills really will make a huge difference in depending on what software you're using. And because I'm always telling people that softwares come and go. You know, I've used so many in my career. I've used Premiere, and I used Photoshop, and I used After Effects, and I used Fusion, and I used Shake, and I've used After Effects, and used Nuke, and used DaVinci, and all of them are different, and they came and went, and some of them were more important than others at certain times of my career. But, you know, for now, you know, the last 20 years I've been using Nuke. I just realized recently that I've been using Nuke for 20 years, since I started in 2005 to use it. But who knows, maybe in 5 years there'll be a completely different compositing package that I'll have to use. But the fundamental of knowing how light works and how composition works and how the great masters of art did lighting and did composition and how photography works and lenses and f-stops and speed and shutters, all those things just transfer from software to software to software. And not only you gain a lot by knowing those things, but also even if we live in a world of AI, that everything is auto-generated with GenAI, it will still benefit you learning all those skill sets, because then you will have anyone can use a generative AI piece of software, but not everyone can see if it looks good or not. And it's a thin line to know what a shot looks like and also to notice the problems the shot might have, because a lot of the generative AI that comes out with imperfections and problems, and having an attention to detail will allow you to basically notice those more than other people. So that's my biggest advice for you, William, right now. And you should continue learning the softwares that you're just mentioning, but also at the same time, we're still kind of waiting. The whole industry is waiting to see what happens with AI, if it's really going to have lawsuits, if it's really going to stick around, if it's really going to advance this hump. But one thing that I must say to you is that it's not going to go away. So the box has been open. We can't close it anymore. And so it's very important for you to really start testing the softwares. Not saying that you should just use them right away, because there's a lot of ethical concerns right now and a lot of problems that are still being ironed out. But it is important for you to test generative AI, to test especially machine learning, since you said Nuke. Really, really focus your attention on trying to get the best out of Copycat as best as you can, and all the machine learning tools that you can get your hands on, because I think those things are not going to go away, and it's going to be very important for all of us as artists to know how to use them in combination with the current softwares and current tools that we have. So, but I've been talking for a long time, William. I want to know what you think of everything that I've just said.
Yeah, no, I agree. Here at school, we've been taught to sort of like be software agnostic and
Good.
yeah, just use whatever it's being used in production. So yeah, I agree with you. I was just wondering because I know that some of the viewers that talked before on the show, they were like, oh, I I'm now just I've lost my job and I think I'm just gonna be doing 3D and compositing as a hobby.
Yeah.
And I thought, maybe it's quite an expensive hobby because, I know I'm talking for my friends as well. We've been studying for like 5 years, and I know some of them have made like big loans to pay the school and everything.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, we've put so much effort and time developing the skills that you mentioned, analyzing composition and
Yeah.
learning from paintings and all of that. And and yeah, I was just wondering because of it's not very encouraging when you sort of like hear all of that
I
yeah.
understand that, William. I understand. We're all scared about this, and we're all very worried, and we are experiencing pretty much the same. Try to look back and consider this. Like, imagine when you were on an art school in the 1885 or 1895 in the 19th century, and you're learning how to paint in pastel and paint in oil and paint in do these amazing drawings with pencils and all these techniques with anatomy and all these things. And the same year photography comes out, and people start using photos, and less people use people to paint portraits. And so basically everything you've learned while you were at school those years, right after a couple of years back, people get really obsessed with photography, and everyone starts using photography for those kind of things. In a way, if you look back at the people that were working back then, the ones that survived and managed to continue were the ones that started doing both things. And so a lot of painters at the time started using photography as well. And then they started also using photography to the benefit of the art that they were making. And the photos that they were creating also came with the principles of composition and lighting that they've learned from old masters. So it's up to you to adapt to the situation, and there's nothing, you can't go back. So you've already done the course, you've already committed to this. It's not like you can go back and start over again on something else, because even if you do that, you also don't know if the other thing you pick, like imagine now you decide, okay, I'm just gonna become a generative AI artist or a generative AI programmer. I'm gonna just develop art AI tools. We also don't know if they're going to go anywhere. We don't really know exactly if it's going to be the path that this happens. There's always a really bad timing in relation when technology pops up, where there are people that suffer with that and then people that thrive with it. So you want to be sure you are on the thriving side. Be sure to be checking everything out and really researching as much as you can so that you can be there when things shift quite quickly. It is important for you to think about that. Another example I give you with this is like if you look at in history of special effects, when Jurassic Park was created in 93, Jurassic Park was not supposed to be done with CG at all. Jurassic Park was going to be done all with stop motion. At the time, Stan Winston Studios were developing this incredible technique and professional technique of doing stop motion animation with a lot of frame animation that it looked almost realistic to a point that Steven Spielberg went ahead to do Jurassic Park, and he really thought he was going to do the whole thing with stop motion. And then suddenly, at the same exact time, ILM just started testing 3D and CG into a way. They started doing tests, and they pushed the boundaries of what can be done. And at some point, he just switched and decided to do Jurassic Park with CG instead. And so all the stop motion animation that was created at the time by Stan Winston and his incredibly creative team was to the garbage bin. Nothing was used. You can still see them if you go to the behind the scenes and making of documentaries of the Blu-ray of Jurassic Park, they're still all there. All of this can be found. All of this can be found on YouTube as well. You can see these things on YouTube. And so all those people kind of lost their jobs overnight. The animators that were doing stop motion, but some of them lost their jobs forever and never went back to the industry. But others started learning Maya, and now they do 3D. And so it's like you're the one that has to keep an eye on what's happening and then make the choice to advance your skill set. And so if you see something that is about to die, you need to look for a replacement for it. So I'm just mentioning this because there's a lot of examples in the past where this exact thing happened, where people were about to lose everything and then they found another way. I am not the person that knows exactly, because I'm also looking. William, I don't really know if it's going to be generative AI or if it's going to be machine learning or if it's going to be Nuke or if it's going to be Maya. I kind of am in a waiting game. I'm still using my pipeline, but also looking into machine learning and looking into copycat and seeing what can be achieved and what the quality of things that come out, and really see and bounce around and see the best I can do. In the meantime, I'm lowering my rates and lowering my budgets and trying to become competitive with the industry that we have right now. And I'm just kind of waiting and see, because I think it will be a couple of years until this is really stabilized. Again, apologies that I'm talking too much, but what do you think about that? How do you feel when I'm telling you these things?
No, I mean, I agree with some of the things that you said. And I was just curious about your point of view. Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic. I know I try to keep, just working on our final year project, and pushing it each day and learning from the new tools, learn from classmates, but yeah, it's just, as I said before, it's hard to sometimes find motivation, even though I am motivated, and I will like to keep going and keep learning and building up the skill sets that you mentioned.
One thing I would say to you, William, is that I believe people have to really understand that the time of huge budgets, huge rates, and getting a lot of well paid during these jobs is gone. So that's never going to come back. So I think now prices are going to go down. People are going to really earn less money, and that is a general thing all over. Like every job is kind of suffering that. Every new job, and because companies are really only looking for profits and for shareholders, and so people are getting really squeezed. The middle class and the lower class is really being squeezed. And so you have to look into the future also in a way that not expecting much. Like you need to make sure you will allow yourself to have ways of alternative methods of earning some money here and there while you find your way through this, so that you don't just give up. And so maybe there's other ways. You can always, publish a Kickstarter with something that you really love, or you can join together with someone and make a book or make a game, or you can always make like a board game, or there's a lot of things happening that you can clearly see happening in Kickstarter. You see it on a lot of platforms all over the world where artists are doing other things as well and trying to get some kind of income as well as what they're doing, because I think the right now this is so uncertain that it is difficult for you to really understand if you're going to be able to earn a full living like we used to on this business. So just be careful with that. Make sure you understand how much money do I really need to live, and how much money do I need to have a slightly more comfortable life while I'm going through these things. And once you find that out and find like a monthly or a weekly or a daily budget for your life, then you need to start really looking for jobs that can help you evolve as an artist. And then also, because there's a lot of places where things can be done. Visual effects people don't need to work in the visual effects industry. You can try architectural, you can try corporate, you can try marketing, you can try games as well. In gaming, there's a lot of places. Even now, there's even a untapped world where we have smaller micro productions even being done in YouTube and being done in smaller ways with creators. And so it's a brand new world here of what we are going to achieve, not to mention the training world as well, where you have courses and you have a lot of other things as well. So I think the microeconomy is really going to be, unfortunately, the future moving forward. But, you know, I know this is a lot of things that I'm saying, but it's just that I want really for people to have realistic expectations and really not really wait for this to go back to what it was, because it's never going to go back. That's over. Like we're not going to go back to a company which has like 2,000 employees earning like £500 a month, £500 a day, and making full CG. That time is gone, I believe. I think the things are going to really become much more smaller and much more micro, you know, instead of growing back to what it was. I think that is really the 2000s and 2010s where the boom is gone, really. I think, you know.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well,
all right, thanks, Hugo. Well,
no problem, William.
Yep.
Thank you so much for calling in, and it was great to chat with you about this. Yeah.
Yeah, same. And thanks for all the resources that you're sharing with with students and everyone that wants to learn Nuke. And
no problem.
Yeah, it's pretty helpful.
No problem. Well, thank you so much for saying. Okay, cool. Well, you can. There's quite a few people waiting, so if you want, you can leave, and we can continue with more people.
Yeah. Have a nice day.
Great day. Thank you, William. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, first off, I wanted to shout out to Akam. Akam, thank you so much for donating to this chat. I can see that you donated $10. Can't thank you enough. Much appreciated, my friend. It's really kind of you to donate to the show. He just says, hi, Hugo, just wanted to say thanks to your streams and all the help you give to the community. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Akam, for doing that. Much appreciated. So basically, I have, as I said, I'm streaming simultaneously on Twitch and on YouTube. On Twitch, Robert is asking me who you're speaking with, Hugo. So basically, this is the radio show, and basically, I'm just speaking with whoever wants to call in to the show. We have a link, and people just call in, and then we talk about any topic whatsoever. We already talked today about COVID problems. We talked about budgets. We talked about Trump. We talked about games. We just recently talked with William about the future of VFX and if it's still worth learning VFX or not. That was a really insightful conversation as well. So any topic is really possible. So anyone can call. I just shared both on Twitch and on YouTube the link if anyone wants to call in. But I have quite a lot of people waiting here for the call, so I'm going to bring in someone that has been waiting for a while. So I'm going to bring them in, and hopefully we can discuss with them. So I'm going to bring them in. Hello there. How you doing, GB? I can see that you've been waiting for a while. How you doing, my friend? Hello? Hello? You here? I guess not. Can you hear me? Write on the chat if you can hear me. On the chat on Google Meet. If not, I can wait and come back to you after. If
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sticking around and waiting. I know you've been in here waiting for a while. So only if you want to. I don't really know your name, but do you want to tell the audience where you're calling from in your name? If you want to, of course.
Calling from India. You can call me GB.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
GB from India. So tell me, my friend, what would you like to talk about? Do you work in the industry as well? Is that what you do?
Yeah, I'm a compositor from last 5 years.
Cool.
The industry has been great for last 3 years.
Yeah.
But from last 2 years, I have been really suffering. So can you tell me something? What's happening currently in the industry? I'm not really understanding what's happening. Like, is it growing or is it done? What's happening?
That's a very specific question. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell exactly what is happening, but there is a combination of problems that have occurred in the last 3 years. We had major problems with COVID, and then right after that, we had the writer strikes and the actor strikes that delayed multiple productions. And then right after that, we had a huge uptick with AI tools and generative AI tools, and a huge economical crisis happening all over the world with markets crashing and with less revenue and companies really tightening the belt. And so a combination of multiple things. And we also had, of course, now we even have more things. We have the tariffs from Trump, and then we had Brexit in the UK as well. There's a lot of problems that occurred at the same time that just made this horrible storm that we're still going through. That's what's happening. And that's why companies are selecting to delay their productions. They are waiting a bit, and they're trying to push the budgets down. And a lot of that is happening. That is really, to answer, there's not a single thing. It's a lot of things that have happened, you know.
As a reference point, I'm seeing other industries are also suffering from the economic crisis and stuff.
Yeah.
So is that the right reference point to take? Say, I see corporate is suffering. The IT engineers are also suffering. My friends are suffering. They're getting laid off and stuff.
Yeah.
So is it the right reference point to see how our industry is growing or not, like in terms of that?
Well, I mean, it's definitely not growing, specifically because you can see a lot of companies closing, and you can see that the profitability. If you go, for example, there's a website called, if you just look at movies, for example, just of that cake, not even talking about games and other things. I'm kind of focusing on the mainstream Hollywood movies, only that, not really from other countries. If you go to mojoboxoffice.com and you go through, they have like an area where it shows the yearly amount of movies. Well, actually, you know, even better than talking about it, I'll just show it on the screen, because it's just a better way to show, and then everyone can see what I mean. I'm just going to open up this thing, Mojo Box Office, and I'll share my screen with you so that you can also see what I'm talking about. Because you are, so I'll just share my screen here. And then you should be able to see. Let me know if you see my screen. You see my screen?
Yeah,
cool. Yeah. So this is Box Office Mojo from Internet and Database, and I'm going to share it on the screen as well for people to watch. So this is Box Office Mojo, which is the place where you can go and see what films are making every year. And if you go to all time here on the tab, and you look at the top grossing movies worldwide. So if you go to, I believe it's, because there is a way to watch, yearly by year. Yeah, there we go. So I'm on worldwide right now, and you can see, if I go all the way back to, let's see here. If I go all the way back to 2000, I don't know why this is a bit weird in terms of text here. Is it because of the size? Yeah, it is. Okay, it doesn't matter. So if you go to like 2017, and I look in here and I see the movies doing really good. So if, for example, 2017, you have 4 movies, really, this is almost the same. You had 5 movies that crossed $1 billion worldwide. As I go to 2018, we now have 6 movies that crossed $1 billion, including one that crossed $2 billion. As I go to 2019, I have basically, this is even bigger. Look, 9 movies that went over $1 billion, including one that went almost $3 billion, which is Avengers Endgame. As I go to 2020, then we have the crash, we have the COVID crash, and you can kind of see nothing went over $1 billion. So suddenly from 2019, we had 9 movies going to $1 billion, and suddenly 2020, we have none. Not even a single movie crossed $500 million even. So this is already a major problem. As we go to 2021, we go in here, you see only one movie went over $1 billion, and that was Spider-Man. So we had $2 billion on Spider-Man, nothing else came close. As we go to 2022, we now have 3 movies that went over $1 billion, a lot less than the 9 that we just discussed. That was the year of Top Gun and Avatar. We go to 2023, and we have only 2 films that cross $1 billion. And then we go to 2024, we only have 3 films that crossed $1 billion. And now, currently this year, only 1 movie crossed $1 billion. So as you can see, the industry, the cinema industry in Hollywood, which is the visual effects industry is depending on, hasn't crossed, used to cross 6, 7, 8, 9 movies $1 billion, and now it barely has 1 or 2 movies that crosses $1 billion. This is like a 5 or 6 times less money that is coming into the industry. And I really strongly believe that this is the main problem that we're having. It's because studios, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here with you. I think studios are looking at this and doing their graphics for profitability, and they can see that there's no future. There's no way they're going to go probably back to this. There's no way we can go into this kind of profitability again. It's going to be very rare that we're going to have 9 films with $1 billion. And so I think a lot of times we're going to have now smaller movies, and because we have smaller movies, they can't really do these 200 million movies anymore. And so they can't really, with the market that we have these days, people don't go to the movies, they don't go to the cinema, and obviously, you just saw the graphic there. There's no way the streaming platforms can sustain this, because on the streaming platforms, they can't have films that cost 200 million because they have too little people watching them. So I think this is over. This big boom that we had, the golden age, as Nikki is saying on Twitch, is over. You know, that's really, I think this is one of the problems that is happening.
Okay, cool. The data looks scary, honestly.
I don't think a lot of people look into this, but it's really there. The numbers are there. Like, and if I continued going backwards, it would have been, I've done that. If you go back to 2016, 2015, 2014, 2010, it's always almost 10 movies that have $1 billion. It's been years and years, almost more than a decade that we've been like this. And now it's over. You know, we don't have these kind of revenues anymore. And the studios are going to suffer. I think COVID, you saw the COVID thing. We only had 5 movies with 400 million. It's a massive, like, imagine a studio that has an operation income of 5 or 6 billion, and so the year after they only have $500 million. It's like you lose 4 billion on their valuation. It's a huge problem. They're still paying for it right now, you know.
Yeah.
And like you said, all industries are paying for this, because the problem that we're having right now is that we are still living on a world where profit and also growth is the only measure of anything. And so every company just wants to grow and grow and grow and grow. And in fact, maybe that is not the answer, because there's a plateau of growth and we can't really keep growing. It's not like, I'm not entirely sure this methodology of growth that is so enshrined into capitalist countries that is really working out that well. I don't believe it is. I feel like it's gonna get worse than it's first gonna get better, you know.
Yeah. So can you put a bit of light on like alternative career paths other than VFX? Like, as compositing, it's less transferable. Can you recommend some career paths?
It is. Compositing is definitely not a very good career path, but it depends, you know. Obviously, compositing is about gathering layers and making images, which is kind of transferable to, you know, to any graphic, really, both CG, Photoshop, graphics, illustration, editing, compositing. I mean, you could think about that as a compositor. You could probably work on any industry that has something to do with generating an image. So it is possible for you to work in the games industry. It's possible for you to work in the corporate production world, or it's possible for you to work in TV stations. It's possible for you to work with content creators and making graphics. It's possible for you to make, there are location like industry paths for those kind of things, but it's difficult, of course, because there's a lot of people trying to get into those paths. But I really, really recommend everyone to start thinking about having more than one skill set, because I'm not entirely sure the specialization is really something that will work out in the long run. I'm not entirely sure, because if you become really specialized about something, if that goes down, you are screwed. And so it's a bit difficult. I'm very well known in the industry for compositing, but I do a lot of different things, GB. I mean, I do editing, and I do grading, and I shoot, and I film, and I photograph, and I can do a lot of different things. And I've only learned those things because I'm curious about a lot of things. And I'm not a master of anything. I'm mostly, probably compositing is my specialty, but I'm also a pretty good photographer, and I'm a pretty good person in Photoshop, and I'm pretty good with editing as well. And so it is important for all of us to start considering that maybe you want to know more things than just one thing. I feel like that's really the only way. I am afraid. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Don't take anything that I say as a ground truth, because it's not. I'm just like all of you, just trying to see what happens.
So after this, I'm learning Unreal and Blender for
good. That's good.
automotive
That's really good.
industry.
Yeah.
So that's good to go.
Yeah. You should definitely learn Unreal. You should definitely learn Blender, and as an extra on top of the compositing, try to make yourself as hireable as possible, and try to get as many skill sets as possible, for sure.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No problem. Well, thank you so much for calling, GB. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Cool. Okay, cool. Excellent. So that was really cool. So I guess we have people waiting, and I do apologize for the people waiting, but I kind of need to do a break, if you guys don't mind. So we always do breaks on this show. So if the people that are waiting online, we have 3 people waiting online. We have CB team, we have Ramon, and we have Emily. They're all 3 of them waiting. But I really need to do a small break, stretch my legs, get something to drink. And also, I think all of us have to do that, because we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes. And I really just conscious that we need to make and get a coffee as well. So if you all don't mind, I'm going to do a break. It's going to be 10 minutes. I'm going to time it on the 10 minutes. So you can come back if you want to, or you can stay online if you want to. If the call goes down, just come back. While we're doing the break, remember that we're going to watch the trailer for my wife's book, for Green Recipes for All, if you're interested on buying that book. It's an amazing book of cooking that she has done. You can also watch the trailer for my course as well, if you would like. So I'll be back in exactly 10 minutes, and then we'll continue the show and talk more.
Hello everyone! I'm super excited to give you a glimpse of my first cookbook, Green Recipes for All, featuring over 50 dishes inspired by amazing Mediterranean food. Inside, you can find recipes made with a variety of fresh, healthy, and versatile ingredients and popular plant-based products. These are great choices whether you already follow a plant-based diet or simply wish to cook a few weekly meat-free meals to reduce your overall meat consumption. In the book, you'll find a wide range of new and exclusive recipes, from soups and big salads to main courses and desserts, as well as some of the most popular recipes here on my channel, such as the perfectly cooked non-stick rice or the tabbouleh-style bulgur and mixed bean salad. Not forgetting a new version of the delicious tofu chocolate mousse. So, if you'd like to have a look at my book and try some of the recipes, just visit any Amazon marketplace and order a copy, which is available in hardcover, paperback, or digital formats. Hope you enjoyed the book, have fun cooking, and see you next time.
Are you interested in learning compositing? My Nuke course is currently 50% off. Join today to have access to 150 pre-recorded classes, 50 hours of training, using real production assets covering industry standard techniques with over 200 gigs of showreel material and access to a private Discord channel with over 2,300 students. This course is endorsed by Foundry and has access to a Foundry student license paid separately. Join today at hugosdesk.myshopify.com. Are you interested in learning compositing? My Nuke course is currently 50% off. Join today to have access to 150 pre-recorded classes, 50 hours of training, using real production assets covering industry standard techniques with over 200 gigs of showreel material and access to a private Discord channel with over 2,300 students. This course is endorsed by Foundry and has access to a Foundry student license paid separately. Join today at hugosdesk.myshopify.com.
Hello everyone! I'm super excited to give you a glimpse of my first cookbook, Green Recipes for All, featuring over 50 dishes inspired by amazing Mediterranean food. Inside you can find recipes made with a variety of fresh, healthy and versatile ingredients and popular plant-based products. These are great choices whether you already follow a plant-based diet or simply wish to cook a few weekly meat-free meals to reduce your overall meat consumption. In the book, you'll find a wide range of new and exclusive recipes, from soups and big salads to main courses and desserts, as well as some of the most popular recipes here on my channel, such as the perfectly cooked non-stick rice or the tabbouleh-style bulgur and mixed bean salad. Not forgetting a new version of the delicious tofu chocolate mousse. So, if you'd like to have a look at my book and try some of the recipes, just visit any Amazon marketplace and order a copy, which is available in hardcover, paperback or digital formats. Hope you enjoyed the book, have fun cooking, and see you next time.
Apologies. We are back now. I forgot to switch on the microphone again. It's really warm in London, so thank you so much for all sticking around here. I'm going to open my green cola because it's so hot here. And again, I'm not sponsored by green cola. Just keep saying that every time I do this. I just really like green cola because it's so much more organic and much more healthier than the regular cola. I used to be a really big consumer of Diet Coke, but now, and Pepsi as well, but now I just prefer this because it doesn't have the acid that breaks the enamel in your teeth, so that's why I use it. And let's open it up. Fortunately, it's not available everywhere, so look at that. That sound is so satisfying. It's so cool. That's cool. Okay, cool. So you saw the lovely book from my wife. If you wanna buy it, you saw it on the on the break. You also saw my course as well. There's a giveaway as well, which I'm putting on both chats now. We're both live on Twitch and on YouTube as well. really wanted to thank everyone that called so far. We already had 3 callers. So let's bring in someone that's been waiting for a while now. I'm going to also put in the link for the conversation. So if you want to join the conversation, you can also do that. First come, first serve, of course. But yeah, thank you so much. We already had almost 250 people on YouTube and almost 50 people on Twitch. So this is fantastic. I'm really happy with how much people are online today. So thank you so much. Okay, so let's get someone in again, and I'll see what they have to say. Hello there. Can you hear me?
Hey, Hugo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So you are referenced as CB team, but only if you want to. You can say your name if you want to.
You can call me Justin.
Justin. Okay, cool. So Justin. And Justin, do you want to tell the folks where you're calling from and what do you do for a living, my friend?
Yes, I'm in Washington, D.C. My current 9 to 5, I work in finance. I'm trying to transition to the film industry. I have been for a long time.
Cool.
Well, not a long time, just since late 2019, before the pandemic, when everything, got wrecked.
Okay. Okay, and how is the transferring happening? How's it going?
I mean, it's slowly but surely. I mean, as you know, it takes money, and it's from everything that you've been saying. It's uncertain. It's uncertainty right now. These waters are very not stable at the moment. So, just to give you a bit of background, myself, I'm a screenwriter first. I am a director, and I really enjoyed the conversations you've had so far. And before I go any further, first, thank you for your channel. It's very educational, very informative, and I can tell by the way you're talking to other people that you're really trying to look out for the best interests of people and making their decisions and making the best decision for them going forward. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much for your kind words. I really appreciate that. I really mean that. Thank you.
Yep. No problem. And, I wanted to call in because I was enjoying, the conversation. We were kind of geeking out a little bit over here with the video game adaptations and, the state of the industry, etc. And I completely agree with you. I think most video game adaptations are a waste of time. The last one for me, I don't know if you remember this, was the 90s Mortal Kombat film, the very first one. I think there's a difference, again, being a screenwriter. I think it's also attributed to comic book movies as well. And I think there's a difference between, and this could be applied to video games, I think there's a difference between making a comic book movie and a film based on a comic book. In my view, Superman 1 is a film based on a comic book, Blade 1, same thing. First half of Batman Begins, same thing. And I think this speaks to a larger issue as far as why the industry is sort of tanking. And I want your opinion on this because 2 men predicted this, I believe in 2008. They predicted the downfall of the industry. And those 2 men, everyone should be very familiar with, are George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. Mm-hmm. There's a different component of this conversation where you could make a legitimate argument that they are largely to blame, but we're not going to go there. But what are your thoughts on that, and whether or not this could have been avoided?
Well, I'm not entirely sure it can be avoided, because I think the problem we have in the film industry, as I showed with the Mojo box office website, is that growth is the only thing that drives all these studios and companies, and I just don't think it's possible to grow anymore. I mean, we had 2017 where we had 10 movies over $1 billion, 2 of them $3 billion. You're talking about like almost 15 billion of money coming into the industry, and now we have barely 2 billion so it's almost like we are at like 10 to 20% of what we used to have. And so growth, using growth as a measurement for the health of the studios is not, I don't think it goes anywhere anymore. You can't just have growth all the time. It doesn't really work, and because I think people are fed up of these big movies. People don't want to go to the movies anymore. Price of tickets are incredibly insane. They're like $20, £20 and £17. for that price, I can just buy a subscription to Netflix for like 6 months. It's really, I really think that the industry has to come into terms that the streaming platforms are here to stay. As much as I don't like them, and a lot of people don't, they're not going to go away. And yes, I understand why George Lucas and Steven Spielberg said what they said back then. And that traditional way of filmmaking that they were pivotal on, you know, because they were the ones creating the summer blockbuster. In fact, Jaws is considered the first summer blockbuster, and George Lucas also made multiple Christmas blockbusters as well with Star Wars. And so, yes, they are to blame, but they were also innovating quite a lot at the time, because there was nothing like that, you know. In fact, a lot of movies, a lot of the industry at that time, especially in the 70s, was still kind of going back. Like, there wasn't a lot of budgets. The industry was a bit on tatters. The films were really low budget, and they were all independent, and there wasn't really nothing like that. And I like that they've made what they've made, and I think they brought a lot of good things to us. You know, without this mindset, we wouldn't have had Terminator. We wouldn't have had Terminator 2. We wouldn't have had, you know, Lord of the Rings. We wouldn't have had, you know, all the fantastic, really good movies that we also got. I know we got a lot of trash as well, but isn't that always been like that? We've always had trash. It's always, you know.
Of course, but here's the thing, though, Hugo, and I'm genuinely asking this: why, in general? I know there are always exceptions, but why, in general, is a film costing $200 million to make?
Well, I can answer that question. Like, it costs that much money because, first of all, some actors are getting 20 to 30 to 50 million per film, which is ridiculous. 50 million is enough to make a movie. You shouldn't pay anyone. Even if their last name is Pitt or last name is Cruz, no one should be getting that kind of money. If anything, maybe they can get a royalty for the profit of the movie. Maybe that. Maybe, you know, a 1% profit of the box office or whatever. That's a more genuine way, which is what some actors do. And famously, Keanu Reeves did that. He received a lot less money for Matrix, but he got a percentage of the box office, which is the best choice he ever did. And so I think it's a combination of spending 50 million for a main actor, another 10 million for the second actor, and then a 5 million for each of the other 2 or 3, and then you have like 70 to 100 million already spent just on the actors, which is not anymore a reason for success. Having really famous actors on a movie means nothing anymore. Like, really does. It does not mean anything. Films flop all the time, even if they have really famous actors. There's some exceptions, of course. I know people look at Top Gun as a way to prove that Tom Cruise is bankable, but is he really? I mean, Mission Impossible, the last one, wasn't that big. So I feel like even Tom Cruise is kind of losing his is kind of gas. I don't know Brad Pitt. I'm not sure how this Formula 1 movie will end up as well, especially because Formula 1, and that movie costed $300 million, the F1 movie. And so it's just bonkers, the amount of money that they're spending in these movies. I think it's the actors, but there's another part of this, which is the more weird and negative part of all of this. The constant reshoots and the constant changing and changes is what costs a lot of money. When they've made the movie and then they show the movie to a group of people, and then people, like 7 people in a room, don't like the movie, and they're like, oh, we need to reshoot the whole thing. And then they start reshooting and bringing the actors back and getting another director involved, and then re-editing and doing more CG, and then changing the CG, and that racks up. And then, so that's, for me, it's like 3 things. Like, the actors, too expensive. Reshoots and changes, too expensive. The third thing for me is marketing is out of control. Like, completely out of control. Like, they're picking up a movie that cost 100 million, and they spend another 100 million to market it. What's the fucking point? Why would you spend 100 million to market something that costed 100 million? It's like, there's no business sense doing that. No one in the world, no company spends that amount of money to sell anything. Like, it's just preposterous. It's preposterous. Yeah. And I know that they need to put the word out for a movie to be successful, but how many movies were successful without any marketing campaign whatsoever? Exactly. I mean, there's so many movies that were successful with just word of mouth, and just you know, that used to work. You know, I don't know why we now have to spend 20 million on a Facebook campaign or 10 million on a Twitch campaign. Why? You're just giving the money to X or giving the money to Facebook. They're the ones happy with all of that. Yeah. I mean, they're the only ones that win with all of this. Mm-hmm. I find it fascinating that we are now doing that. Like you saw, for example, not that I think it's bad or anything. Like, I really enjoyed the movie, The Substance. That film was quite good, but they spent on marketing more money than the movie itself. The same thing went to Anara as well, the film that won Best Picture. They spent more in marketing than the movie itself. There's something wrong with this. There's something wrong with this way of... They were lucky enough for those to be profitable, but it's too much risk. I just feel that this is too risky to do those kind of things, you know?
Yeah, Hugo, and if I could just zero in on something you said, where you say there's something wrong with this, I think you're feeling what a lot of people are feeling, because it's one of those things where it's like, not a lot of people can break down why a film is done bad, etc. But I think this is maybe also part of the problem, where the people who went to Harvard, who went to Yale, who studied business, who know ones and zeros, are now making creative decisions in Hollywood. Those are the guys. It's not artists. Yeah. So I'm sitting here and I'm looking, like, for example, it's like you're paying for the name, which you touched on. Then you're paying for the marketing. Yeah. And I don't understand when I look at the product and I say to myself, this does not justify not even anywhere close to what you spent. For example, have you seen the latest Mortal Kombat film?
I did, yeah, I did. I love Mortal Kombat. I love the games, and so I had to go and see it. Of course.
Perfect. Same here. Yeah. And I think they did some things well, and other things I have.
Yeah, it was a good movie, flawed, but it is a good movie. I liked it. But I'm a fan, so I was always gonna like it.
Of course. But if I were to ask you, does that film, and I want you to be totally honest with me, does that film look like it cost $50 million to make?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, it's an okay movie, but your point being that it was too much money, or you think it's a good budget for the movie? Because
Go ahead.
Yeah, because it's. I mean, I don't mind some. I almost feel like $100 million should be the maximum you should ever spend on anything to do a movie, and even that is a huge. That's like a lot, but the world is filled with 50 million, 60 million, 70 million amazing movies at that cost, and not to mention 20 million and 25 million and 30 million. Yep. All those movies had those budgets, and they worked it just fine. What you just mentioned about being done by businessmen instead of artists has to do with the fact that they really think it's possible for you to build success, for you to build an art. Somehow they think it's wreckable, like you can repeat it, and if you just do the same things over and over, that they will always be a hit, because they believe that if you just spend enough money, or because they look at Avatar, or they look at Titanic, and they look at those movies that made $2 billion, and mostly all James Cameron's movies, all of them made $2 billion or more, and they look at those movies and they look, oh well, we can do that, and then they try and they spend all that money, and yes, James Cameron also spends $150 million and $200 million, but it's different because first, James Cameron is an artist. He's a person that knows what he's doing. And, as much as people hate Avatar or love Avatar, it doesn't really matter. But the whole thing with this is that regardless if they hate it or love it, everyone goes and sees it. And that's why it makes that much money. And this is not it's not possible to replicate. You can't replicate, although it looks like you can replicate this on paper. The fact is that people go and see Avatar because it's James Cameron, the same way they go and see Oppenheimer because it's Christopher Nolan. They don't go and see it because someone worked out a pipeline to make a movie that looks like Christopher Nolan. It's not done like that. It's people go because they like those artists. That's why they go and watch them. You know,
Right.
it's like a band. It's like a good band. You can have a good band and everyone goes and watch it. You know, everyone goes and watches a famous band, but you can't just put on a computer, make a band like this one, and then people go and watch it. They won't. This is not. It's not constructible. You can't construct art like they think they can. I think that's the issue here. It's that they really think it's a business. It's a type of thing you can replicate in business. That's why they're so happy with AI and they're so happy with generative AI, because it's finally they can touch a button, put a prompt, and it comes out exactly what they want.
Right.
But
right.
is anyone going to watch it? I mean, maybe not.
And if they watch it, what is the lasting effect? Because if I say Terminator 2, you would say that still burns bright today.
Yeah, I know.
The problem now is, and this is what someone who is very wise once told me, movies today are like a bonfire. You just hop from one to the next, and it's just forgettable. And that, I think, is also the issue. I truly believe, like, because this one thing I go back and forth with one of my close buddies. He thinks that this cannot be fixed. The film industry cannot be fixed.
Yeah,
I believe it can, but it's going to take something very radical.
Yeah,
and the likelihood of that radical thing happening is probably where we do agree. But it's one of those things where it's like, Hugo, I'm a screenwriter. I'm a director. I don't want to be a director, but it's one of those things where my first project in 2019, I was forced to, because I sat down with director after director to see, because the whole point of someone taking a script is to elevate what's on those pages, both the director and the actors, right? And everyone who I sat down with, I just didn't have confidence in, so I was forced into that director's things, right? Just a little bit of background on the project. I'm sure you've seen Power Rangers, right?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
So it was, we had gotten the original Black Ranger from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series to sort of reprise his role. And this was going to be a much more serious take on, the Ranger universe. And it was starting to pick up steam, right? To the point where when we're ready to get the campaign and the marketing rolling, I get a letter. And you know what that letter is, and that's a cease and desist. So it's one of those things where, I got it literally within a day or two of when the campaign went up. So it's like we just had to stop everything. But it's just one of those things where it's like I look back on that, and I look back on who I hired from the VFX area. And I say to myself, I know how to do a lot of things now. I've watched a little bit of your channel and I picked up on a few other things, but it's like in retrospect, you can now look back at who you've hired from the VFX world and see who took advantage of you. So, because I didn't know anything, but it's just one of those things where, Hugo, my goal, and this is what I want your opinion on, my goal is to get a group of people together who I can trust, who I know they're going to do their job, who I know their quality is top notch. Maybe even a mini studio, I don't know if you want to call it that, but that, we have enough money coming in because everyone knows our quality is top notch. So we don't have to worry about that. We can strictly focus on creating. And I truly believe if you focus on doing that, from pen to paper, from camera to, shooting, from post and VFX and all that, if you focus on those things, the money will come by default. Mm-hmm. If everything is top notch. And I guess my question to you is, what would it take? What do you think it would take to do that? Because I have the scripts here. I mean, it's all in my safe. And everyone likes to think they have the next big idea, the next Matrix. I'm telling you, the writing is not the issue. For me, it's literally the funds and gathering the people to galvanize. Because I think once they see the vision, they'll be all in. Because there's nothing, what I'm seeing, and no disrespect to what I'm seeing as far as television and film, but from what I'm seeing and what people are calling good, I don't even know if they're ready for the stuff that I've got. And maybe that sounds braggadocious or whatnot, but I'm just trying to put it out there that I have sat at the foot of the masters that we've already talked about, who have been making films and who know what a story is, who know that a story has to have at least 3 clear acts, who knows what character development is, and I've taken all of that into account, where I believe most of the people who are at the top of the game today completely ignore. So what is your advice putting a crew together, whether or not this is even feasible? I just want to know what your thoughts are on all. I know I've said a lot, but
Justin, I won't really, nothing that I can say really will help, or because you have to do your journey, you have to do your path, of course. But if you really think you have some good scripts and you have some stuff going on there, you need to present them, you need to pitch them. You need to find an agent, and famously, for example, if you want to pitch anything to Netflix, you have to go through an agent, or if you have to go through a production company. You just have to put them out there. I don't really advise you to already get the crew and already film everything, because you're going to have a lot of substantial... I have friends of mine that have done that path, where they put the money up, they did the whole thing, and then they try to sell it and they get nowhere. So be careful with that. You want to make sure you have some kind of deal already kind of pre-made even before you start spending a lot of money producing something. Because it is tricky, because a lot of times I have friends that have, basically spent all of their life savings to try to do something that they thought was going to really work, and then it didn't get sold. So, it's all about, yes, the quality is one thing, but you also have to have some luck. So it's and you need to know certain people that can help you along the way. If you really think you have something, I really advise you to get in touch with an agent, get yourself into the markets, try to sell something, as we usually, there's multiple places where that happens, in festivals and cons, and a lot of places where there's huge markets of people trying to sell and pitch productions. Just go for it. I think you should do that, but be careful with the amount of money that you spend that might not go anywhere. That would be what I would say as well. Be careful with that, because I've met a lot of people that thought they had a big thing, and maybe it was a big thing, maybe it was, but for some reason, either bad luck or the timing wasn't right, or the actors didn't work full through, and something kind of happened, and it kind of fall apart, so it is a bit difficult to have the next big thing. Really is,
Yeah, I agree with that. And I guess I agree with your approach. The only thing I'm really concerned with, because I'm being mentored by someone who has been in the industry for a while, and the thing what I'm concerned with that route, and that's good advice you gave, but the thing I'm concerned with is theft. What I have, I know is going to try and get... I know it sounds paranoid, but I've read stories, I've met people, and it's this easily can be stolen from me, and that's where my concern is. But to your point,
there's nothing you can do about that, because you cannot really trademark or really do a copyright of something that is that creative, and then someone can just use a slightly different version and then just make that happen. That happens all the time. In fact, there are multiple lawsuits that have been settled that no one even knows how much was the settlement. Multiple films and multiple productions that had stolen stuff, and someone went to court and they ended up with a settlement. There's a lot of examples of that all over the world. I just feel that the reason I was saying about not spending too much money is that either you start with something really small and work your way by having a couple of short films, a couple of things, and just work your way with smaller, more simple ideas. And then when the time comes right, you then deploy those bigger scripts that you have that you think are amazing.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of people like already starting from a big thing. You kind of want to start from the bottom and then kind of work your way up. Yeah. Because it's like you said, it's dangerous. You might meet the wrong person, then something can be stolen, or an idea or a concept. It's tricky. It's really tricky,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All
Cool,
right.
man.
I appreciate you, man. Again.
No problem, no problem. Thank you so much for calling, and really appreciate the candor and really appreciate the conversation. That's exactly why this show exists, you know. So I'm glad to hear it that way.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Justin. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, cool. So now, next up, I'm going to bring someone that has been waiting for a while because I've seen them coming in and out of the call. So I'm going to bring them in. I'm just going to... and yeah, by the way, I do acknowledge the Twitch chat. Those are some really good examples of what you're talking about, Nikki. Flow and the Creator, really cheap productions. I also saw that... that Michael was talking about Godzilla as well. So there's a bunch of examples of really cheaper productions that have been going around that actually produced incredible movies and cost a fraction of what other movies are made. So it is definitely possible. And yeah, good tip there from Kaiokin. Festivals are a good place. Some of them are pitch meetings like Annecy Film Festival. Yeah, Cannes has that as well. I'm definitely sure the London Film Festival has those things as well. Networking is all about those things anyway. So I think that's a good point. So I'm going to bring Emily in to see if they're here because I know they've been waiting for a while. So I'm going to bring them in and see what happens. Hello there, Emily. Can you hear me? Emile or Emily? Maybe it's Emile. Sorry. Maybe it is Emile. I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Is it Emile or... Yeah, it's Emile.
It's Emile. It's the masculine version in French of Emily. Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I wasn't sure.
No worries. I appreciate
it. Is... No, not a problem. So, well, Emile, thank you so much for sticking around. I knew you've been waiting for a while.
Yeah, I got kicked in and out. I'm sorry for prompting you so many times.
No, not a problem at all. I do apologize that sometimes it takes a while for us to get to people. But do you want to tell us a little bit why if you want to, of course.
Yeah.
But where are you calling from? What do you do? What's your name? Tell us a little bit.
I'm calling from Montreal, Canada.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm a visual effects compositor. I switched recently to being a pipeline TD. Most of the reason why I did this is the AI and stuff and how stuff have changed over the years. So I figured maybe artistic way was maybe not the way. I'm very technical. But yeah, that's basically my short story. I do a lot of freelance on the side as well. I work for big companies most of the time, but a lot of freelance on the side with a bunch of friends as well. This has been going very well. Lately, specifically, like you said something earlier a little bit about how things will, not ramp down, but how smaller studios or the finances and everything would push people to lower the scale of things. Yeah. And I think this is very true. I think you made a very good point because this is what we've seen so far when COVID hit. A lot of big studios laid off a lot of people. I was fortunate enough not to be laid off, but at the same time, freelance went up like crazy. Like a lot of advertising and stuff like this, it blew up. So I heard before people saying that it's very worrying, the industry, and I do agree. It's super worrying right now. But on the other hand, I've seen some silver linings, specifically freelance-wise. And machine learning and AI, GenAI, has been helping us, deliver more with less. And this is also the expectations of most of our clients. So just to jump back on what you were saying a little bit before, I do agree with the points you made. Yeah, I had a couple of questions for you, so many, but I'm gonna make this short because I know a lot of people are waiting, and I don't want to use too much of your.
No, of course, no. Take your time, and you've been waiting for a long time, so I really appreciate you've been hearing out, and yeah, please go ahead, go with the questions.
I really enjoyed the show, by the way. I really appreciate what you're doing for the community. It's I know it's a lot of work what you're doing, and it's very nice to have this place or this room where we can express ourselves and ask your questions and stuff like that. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for saying that. And I'm definitely making this weekly. So now this is going to be every week. And I'm enjoying it too. Yes, it is a lot of work and it's tiring. I get super exhausted after I'm done with it because it's so brainy. You're like talking and thinking and talking and taking and also handling all these buttons and all these things. And so but I really enjoy it and really enjoy talking with everyone and getting all the perspectives, different perspectives and different topics every week. So I'm definitely really up for doing it every week. Might miss a week or other if I'm not here or if I'm doing something else, but I'm trying to make it as a scheduled thing that I'm always doing it every Thursday. That's my plan at least. So really appreciate your kind words. Thank you.
No, yeah, nice. Credits where it's deserved, right? So. I had a question about since the industry is moving a lot, and you talked about this on previous shows, like how London, you guys got some very, or like UK, you guys got some tax credits or tax rebates, stuff like this. And I was wondering, what was your vision about like moving countries and changing countries for finding work? Because obviously you're Portuguese and you live in the UK. So I was wondering like how this has been for you and what motivated that move on your hand.
Well, I as a Portuguese person, I first moved to Sweden. That was the first thing I did. This was in 2006. Then I moved to Sweden. I lived in Sweden for 3 years, and then I left Sweden in 2009 and then moved to the UK. I've been here since 2009, so I've been here for 16 years now in the UK. Not really planning to move any further. I think I found the place I like and enjoy. I really like the UK. I really enjoy living in London, mostly because it gives me access to really good airports to travel anywhere. I live close to Heathrow, and it's really a great place from a cultural point of view. I have a lot of museums, a lot of really great museums and great exhibitions. I'm really close to Paris. We go to Paris all the time because it's just the Eurostar. It's just a quick train, so 3 hours and you're in Paris. And you're really close to most countries in Europe. It's really close for me to go back to Portugal as well, and so to visit. And so it's I really enjoy living here. But I mean, I left Portugal the same reason most people leave these countries. It's because there is no industry in Portugal. I know there is a little bit now. I know there's a bit more now, but it's still nothing to cry about. It's not big enough. And I was really experiencing a lot of problems getting work in Portugal. It was incredibly hard to get work. And also, at the time, this was, of course, 2000 I worked in Portugal between 1999 and 2006. So I worked there for 7 years, and after I left my university degree. And so for those 7 years, it was a struggle. I would get very low-balled. I would get low budgets. Sometimes I wouldn't even get paid. In fact, there's still productions that I did there that people still owe me money. And so I kind of left because it was an unprofessional environment. Again, I have no idea how it is now because I don't work there and I don't live there. But at the time, it was an incredibly unprofessional environment. It was very bad budgets, and it was just not the place for me. And I kind of left, and I went to the exact opposite of the scale, which is Sweden, which is incredibly professional, and everything is by the book, and everything is so by the book that I also couldn't last long there. So it was too much of a shock, and it was too cold as well. And so I couldn't stay there for too long, and I was there for 3 years. But it was pivotal for my becoming an artist and becoming proficient in After Effects and becoming proficient in Nuke and Fusion. And I really give a shout out to Sweden as the place where I really became what I am today. So, and London, I was really lucky because I came in right at the top of Soho, where the London VFX world was the best in the world. It was the largest. We had the Mill and MPC and DNEG and Framestore. They're all together in the same area in Soho. It was like thousands, the hundreds of companies, all in like a few square meters. And it was really, really, we all knew each other. We all went to the pub. We all traveled from company to company. We were always bouncing around. It was a really creative environment and really a bouncing environment filled with all the countries in the world. There were people from France, from Germany, from Portugal, from Spain, from the United States. It was every country in the world there, and it was just a melting pot of creativity. And I was very fortunate to be there at that time. It is not like that anymore. It is definitely not like that anymore. So, in London's VFX industry is a shadow of what it was before. I think COVID was a huge contributor to that. A lot of companies really became remote. Studios moved away from Soho, and people studios closed. Studios became smaller. Things kind of like, and of course we had spread out. A lot of other countries started having a lot of VFX companies, and so it's not all so central as it was at that time. So I feel, but I still like living in London. So I'm not really planning to leave, but I don't really need to live here, to be honest. Like, for me to work in this industry, I don't anymore. I don't believe. But to answer your question about you consider, I think your question was more about like if you should leave, or if what I think about people moving from countries, isn't it? That's kind of what you're.
I'm living a little bit the same thing right now. Like we had a huge boom in Montreal, Canada. Yeah. It was crazy. Like Framestore opened, DD came in, then like a bunch of other big company names, and I quit freelance to go work into those companies, and it was like one of the best experience to like learn, and so something similar to what you've described. Yeah. But for me, it was local at the time. But then COVID hit, and Canada has changed, specifically Quebec, the province I'm in, has changed their tax credits and tax rebates and stuff like this for visual effects and movie making and art mostly. We're switching a little bit more conservative now, and usually this is not very nice for arts. Yeah. And we've seen this happen, and right now like Australia and UK and other countries are very well, they seem very attractive to me, because I'm like, okay, then maybe I can go make a living there, maybe for a little while or something like that. And I was wondering how this, like, exactly what motivated you. This you answered.
Are you native to? So you were born there, or are you from?
I was born in near Montreal, but
okay. So you're native to Canada. Okay, you're native to Canada.
Yeah. I went to BC right after COVID for other reasons, British Columbia. So this is like the opposite side of Canada, like and did visual effects there as well. It was one of the most wonderful experiences of my life. Mm-hmm. So I'm used to like moving, but not out of the country. Yeah. And I was wondering how, with all of the stupidity as like taxes and learning a new language and different culture, how this impacted your life, and like, would you suggest someone to do it, or like or like. Yeah.
It really depends on your life, of course. Obviously I don't have kids, and so it's easier for me to travel and to move around. I married with also a Portuguese, Anna is Portuguese as well, and she traveled with me from Portugal to Sweden, and then Sweden to London. And she really likes to travel, and I like to travel, and I know that not everyone can really do that, because sometimes they have a lot of roots on a place, and they can't really just detach everything and go somewhere else. And so it really, my experience is not possible for everyone, of course, obviously. But I would say that from my experience, I would not be the artist I am today if I wouldn't have moved out of Portugal. And I tend to recommend that even if it's just once in your life, you should leave your country. I think I say this to everyone, not just the visual effects industry, but I feel like coming out of your country and going to somewhere else really opens up your mind to a lot of things. First of all, it opens up troubleshooting, because you have to solve so many problems when you're in another country, because you don't know the language, you don't know the culture, you kind of have to adapt to a lot of different customs and different things. But also allows you to have access to thoughts and strategies and pipelines, and also artistic things, like things that are not in your country. And so I would not be the person I am today if I wouldn't been exposed to Swedish society and also to British society, and Because when I move to a country, I know a lot of people, when they move to countries, they almost move to the same location where all the other people from that country live. So I have a lot of Portuguese colleagues that live in the Portuguese areas of London, and they get along with Portuguese people. And I know people from France that go to the French areas of London, and they live with other French people. I'm not like that. I just embrace the culture and really live in a British area, only talk with British people, and really kind of like watch British TV. I don't have Portuguese TV. I have a lot of my friends that have Portuguese TV still, which I don't really understand why, because you're not living there. Why would you watch TV with the news there? But anyway, I understand that some people do that, and they even watch the sports from that country and everything, because they have to have that connection. I don't really have that connection. I've always been a person that don't really see borders, and I don't really think Portugal, France, Spain, Italy. I mean, who the fuck cares? It's just Europe. The whole thing is just one place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know there's different languages.
I completely know what you mean.
I just, like, for me, all of this with the borders, it's almost like when I look at, a couple of years ago, I saw these wonderful interview with an astronaut, and he was like taking pictures from the world from the space station, and he was taking pictures, and guess what, when you look at the countries, there's no borders. You don't see anything. It's just like all one single green thing, or an ocean, or a bunch of lands, and there's no real borders anywhere. And so I try to live my life like that. I mean, I wish I wish the UK didn't left the European Union. That was a big shock for me, because I'm European, and Brexit was a big shock for me, and I couldn't even vote for it because I'm not a citizen in the UK, but I didn't thought I needed to be a citizen here, but I can still live here as a settled status because I've been here for so long. But I love to embrace myself into the culture of that specific place where I am, and I think it really developed myself as an artist. I really advise everyone to at least once in their life to experience another country, even if it's just a year or 2 years. And I think the first time I was preview to that, the first time I experienced that thing was in Portugal, when I'm in university. I was in art school, I was doing my art degree. And there was a program in Portugal called Erasmus, which is a program which would switch people around. So you would get a Portuguese student that would go to a French university, and then a French university person would come to that same school. So they would swap around. And that was the first time I saw how cool that was. Like, those people really got to experience a lot of different cultures and a lot of different types of things. And then when they got back to their countries, they just had a different perspective in things. And I feel that perspective can only be, at least from my experience, I'm only talking about what happened to me. I don't know if it's going to happen to other people. But for me, it really brought me perspective. It brought me a different view in the world by looking at other cultures and looking at other people and looking at other ways of doing things. It just changed my mind, and I've never been the same ever since. And so
I completely agree with you. Like, when you communicate then with someone, like if you lived abroad a little bit, I did it before a little bit, but not for work. And when you communicate with them afterwards, you have different references with them. So even like artistic or like comping wise, you can compare, like with a French person, I can talk about like French movies, French culture. Yeah. I can make like, connections with that culture because I've seen what it is. Or I can, I think for connection, and you're making a very good point, like for connection and artistically, but also like personally, it helps people grow.
Yeah. It does. I feel like that. Of course, I'm not saying that it's going to happen to everyone. Some people hate it. I've met people that hate that and just want to go back. I've met multiple people that just wanted to go back again and hated the fact. I have a lot of colleagues, especially when I was working at the mill. The mill was the place that had more nationalities in the world. Like that company had like, I don't know, man, maybe 50 different countries. It was insane. And a lot of people there really hated being in London. every chance they could get, they would go back in the weekend or a few days off. And so I know some people really don't like that, and they are very attached to their family, and they want to go back, and they love their friends there. So I'm not saying that this is going to work for everyone, but I from my personal point of view, I have been transformed by traveling to other countries. My own life has been transformed by that, so it worked really well for me, but maybe it won't work for other people, but I still, but even if you don't like it, I still think you gain something from going to another country. I still think you do.
Agree.
Even if you get to see how good you have and you don't need it, that's even, maybe it will give you a perspective of, oh shit, I actually love my country and I don't need to go to another country. And then that gives you more love for the place you were, because people always complain about the places you are, and you always think some other place is better. But a lot of people, sometimes they discover that oh, well, actually, by the way, actually I already had it good, so it's funny how things go,
I really like your take. I think you're making very good points, and thank you for that, by the way. If I can ask one more question,
of course,
and use a little bit more of your time.
Of course.
We talked a little bit before about machine learning, GenAI, and I made links with this, talking about like how it helps me as a freelancer, or like the group I'm working with, of freelancers. I've been having issues, and I'm wondering how this experience will translate to your experience. Like, if you had this, the problem we have with GenAI, specifically generative AI, is the client would give us something, of course, expecting it to be delivered very fast because they could do it on their computer at home, or using Runway or whatever it was. So the expectations have changed, yes. But then when we do it with AI and we show them the stuff, then it usually falls back to me as a compositor to fix the mistakes of the AI. And yeah, I hear you laugh, so I think you know what I'm talking about. This is why I do think compositing is like I would say like a safer bet, because we're the last man or the last person standing. And usually it falls back on us to fix the AI mistake, which sometimes takes more time and costs more than doing it properly the first time.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what's your take on that? Like, is there a way we can avoid this, or is there? Would you think this is good for compositors, because then it gives them a forever place as like the AI fixer? And isn't it boring as well? Like, just to fix AI stuff, AI shit, instead of like being creative in the first place?
Before I answer your question, I just wanted to really quickly mention that I have not forgotten about your question, Pixel Shift 88. I know you were very kind in donating to the chat, and you've asked the question, and I know it's been a while since I didn't answer, but I will get to your question. Don't worry. So, Emile, the thing with this is that it's funny that you said that about the compositing being the last thing. I still, maybe I'm going to be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll adapt to that, but I still very much think that compositing is something that has been around since we've started movies in cinema, and I really think it will continue to be around for many, many decades to come, in a different version of what we know of compositing these days, of course. But the reason for that is because, if you look back at the very early compositing was done, if you look at the work from Millet with Traveling to the Moon, and even the few movies that have VFX, like when he decapitated himself, or all those movies, they depended on someone making a mask and then doing a double exposure, which is layering, really, what we know today as layering and masking, which is nothing more than compositing, really. Even back then, and then we kind of transferred to optical compositing, which was compositing done with multiple exposures of multiple rolls of film, to a point that ILM even had machines that could do 8 layers. It was like, oh my God, they can do 8 layers. And then Photoshop came out, and it could not do layers. It was Photoshop 1 had no layers. It was only what you see, what you get. You were painting on top, and then just like paint, you couldn't do layers. That's it. And then Photoshop 2 came along with layers. I think Photoshop 2 or 3. I don't remember. It was 3 or 2. One of the earlier versions finally had layers. And then we started compositing with those layers. And then, of course, optical compositing went away, and then digital compositing came in. Very rudimentary in the beginning with the Quantel boxes, and then, of course, with Flame and Smoke and Inferno. And then, of course, we moved on to Shake and moved on to Nuke and moved on to Fusion. And we're still... And now these days, there's even compositing built in to the timeline of DaVinci and built into the timeline of DaVinci when you go into Fusion and come back. And so it's even progressing that way, where you're starting to have compositing and those kind of things. And now you even have compositing in regular phone apps and everything. And so, yes, AI... The reason why I think compositing will still stick around is because, yes, AI can develop something, but AI is costly. You need computers, you need power processing, you need versioning, you need to go through all those versions, which costs money. It needs cloud computing, it needs a lot of things. I do think that sometimes sitting down with someone, and just fixing something quickly will probably become a bit cheaper. And also there's the side of client changes and client things that, you know, clients and directors only want to change things. They always want to tweak things. They always want to do new things. And so that process of changing things, fixing things, I do think it will continue. I don't believe it will go out. It will probably become part of the AI tool itself. So I almost think the generative AI tools will end up having their own masking and compositing tools built in, so that you can cut parts and develop it. If you have a generative AI image, you can then, a bit like they do in Photoshop already a little bit, where you can just develop just the background and then change the foreground and then rotate and it starts to become a bit like compositing, where you're layering things up anyway. So that skill set is still very much a necessary skill set. And not to mention finalizing something and finishing, doing final touches to something. So,
yes, and having the client relationship as well.
Yeah,
like when
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I feel that we're still there, and I'm not entirely sure if even if generative AI becomes completely seamless. I don't know. I still think that a lot of productions will still need people on the box, and people, because in the creative industry, nothing beats like a brainstorming session or 2 or 3 people on a team bouncing ideas around and talking about things and testing things. It's not like nothing has been done in the history of movie making. Nothing has ever been done on a sterile environment with just one singular person. Nothing has ever been done like that. So I'm not entirely sure. And if we do it on such a sterile environment, I'm not sure also it will have the emotional resonance that other things had.
I'm pretty sure it won't.
I think people notice those things. They do notice them. And you kind of see a lot of people hating generative AI online because of that, I think. You kind of see that. So I think we're on the beginning of this, and I still think that we will continue to need artists, especially to make things look good, because that's the difference. A lot of people are not trained to do something that looks good because they haven't done any artistic training whatsoever. So I don't know, I think it's not as simple as all those tech bros say, that it's over. It's all over now. Nothing is really truly over. So
this is exactly what scares me, though. It's I feel like creativity is gonna go a little bit away, or like the brainstorming is gonna go a little bit away, and then the client will just send us, this is the face I want on my actor, or and then it becomes like a paint task where we just like paint the AI, because we don't have DI mats, we don't have like or then we roto AI. And then this is just like, I don't know, this makes me feel sad, because then creativity goes away and it just becomes a factory labor.
But it's up to you to decide if you want to continue on that path or if you want to start doing different things, because you can always do your own things, and you can always start, just look at the director of Flow. He picked up Blender and made an animation movie and then won an Oscar. So you can always... I'm sure the team on Flow could have worked on Pixar. They could have worked at Disney. They could have worked on Framestore or DNEG, but they made the choice of getting together and making a movie themselves. and now they're getting the fruits of that. The movie has been a success. It generated a lot of money, generated a lot of eyes on them to create something else new. And I do think that if we don't like something, then the same way that people in the past worked in a factory and then hated working in a factory, then they opened their own business. I just feel that I am certain that a lot of more people will hate this and then just do something else and do something else with that skill set. Either being a short film or being an animation film or being their own game or being a board game on Kickstarter or doing a magazine or doing like I've seen so many examples in the world of the creative industry where smaller teams and smaller groups of people are making some really cool little things that gives them just enough profit for them to live and to have a good life. And they don't really need to operate on those things. So I feel that there is enough people and there is enough micro communities for you to have your own content and join forces with other people, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we're going back a little bit to what it was, what VFX was before, where it's like smaller teams, but very, very specialized, and not necessarily specialized, not the good word, but like, less people, less factory work, and a lot of like opportunities for expansion and trying new stuff. I appreciate your words, Hugo. I'm gonna go now because I have dailies.
Oh yeah, and, please don't miss the dailies. No, and I'm gonna go as well. We've been going on for a long time, and I'm gonna wrap up it as well. So
don't forget to answer your question though.
I will. Oh, thanks for saying that. Thanks for saying that. Well, it was lovely to talk to you. You're always welcome, my friend. Come anytime.
Thank you very much for what you're doing again, and have a nice one.
Thanks. Bye. Okay, cool. So I think I'm gonna wrap up because we've been going on for a long time. And I'm gonna do what Emile told me to do. I am gonna go back to the question from Pixel Shift 88. So Pixel Shift 88, thank you so much for donating $5 to the show. Much appreciated. You're so kind. It's really your kindness and all the donations and all the things that we construct here on the show that allows me to keep the show going. So. And you do have a question. So your question, and I hope you're still here. I really hope so. I'm sorry that it's been a while since we've talked. I think it's been almost like half an hour since you've posted this. But if you're still here, here's your question. Your question was, would you say things would eventually shift towards independent creators, especially if we look at some of the people who won this year at the Oscars? I really hope so, Pixel Shift 88. I hope we go back to independent creators. I hope we go back to a more creative industry. We have smaller creators, especially because everything is so democratization now. Like the democratization of tools, softwares, cameras, computers. You know, these days you can buy a Blackmagic camera, a 6K Blackmagic camera. Hey, you can even have a 12K Blackmagic camera, and you basically can film a motion picture. And then you can edit it on DaVinci, which is free, and you can use a laptop for it. And you can basically use Blender to do the CG, which is free. And then you can use Fusion, which is free, to do compositing. Or you can pay a small amount of money and have a subscription on After Effects. Or have a subscription in Nuke and Nuke Independent. So there's a lot of ways of doing these things. And it's a fraction of money that you need to create something. You just have to have an idea. That is the main thing. So I really hope that this spawns a bunch of creators, a bunch of people that really want to do those things. I really hope so. So to answer your question, I hope so. Will it happen? Maybe, maybe not. I hope it does. But it's also up to us. I really think it's up to us as well. It's up to us to drive that conversation forward as well. So, cool, man. Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Habiop. Great insights today. It was a great... Pixel is still here. It was a great show. To be honest, I really enjoyed this show. I think this was my favorite radio show so far. I'm gonna make sure I make notes, and I've been making notes. So I'm gonna make sure I put all the chapters in for people to go and search the topics that we're discussing. I think it was one of my favorite radio shows so far. I really wanted to thank everyone that have been part of it. Wanted to thank Peter, William, GB, CB team, which is Justin, Emile, for calling in the show. So it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It was a great show. Anyway, we'll be back next week. So remember, Monday we have the showreel review. Monday. It's going to be Monday at 3 o'clock. And then next Thursday, let me just double check if I am here. Yeah, next Thursday we'll have the call-in show again. So the 21st of April we have the showreel review, and there's still one slot free for that. And then the 24th of April, we have the radio show again. So please be sure to tune in. We'll have a lot more topics next week. I'm gonna do the giveaway. I've put the link in the giveaway on the chats, on both chats. We'll just do the giveaway real quick, and then we wrap up for today. Let's just see here. And again, thank you so much. Really, really want to emphasize and thank so much to, wanted to thank Akam for the donation. I wanted to thank Pixel Shift 88 for the donation. I also really want to thank LevGen for becoming a member, and also Etherballs for becoming a member as well. And I really want to thank all my Patreons and all my members. I will start to put the credits at the end of the video. I need to make that. I need to make those images. So the next stream, I will put the credits of everyone that is a subscriber, a Patreon, and a member of Hugo's Desk. And I can't thank you all enough for all the kindness and support you give to the show every week. Okay, let's draw the winner and see what happens. We have 55 people potentially to win this thing. And let's see who wins it. Just a second. Give me just a second. Let's do this. Winning being picked. Okay, cool. I have a winner here. Hopefully they're here. Can I copy this Okay, I can. Okay, so... let's just do this here. So live chat, and the winner of the Nuke course is, so I have a name here. I'm just gonna be sure not to put the email visible, so apologies for that. Just want to make sure I don't put the email available. Okay. So, so that's, okay, so I have the winner of the course today is I. Connor Thomas. That's the name that I have here. I. Connor Thomas. Thanks, Nikki, for all the kind words. You can see Connor is already here. Look at that. That's so cool. You already here, my friend. Congratulations. You've won the new course. Congratulations, my friend. Don't despair, everyone. We will have another giveaway on Monday and another giveaway on Thursday. So we're giving the giveaways away. It's like giving them away. Let's go, Connor. Yes. I will be in contact with giving you the login to the course. So congratulations for winning the giveaway. And that's it for today. We've been here for 2 hours and a half. It's been lovely. Really enjoyed this conversation. It was one of my favorite radio shows today. Really want to thank the 375 people that watched on YouTube. And I really wanted to thank, let me just double check here, how many people have watched today on Twitch. So far we had 64 people watching on Twitch. So thank you so much for the 64 people watching on Twitch. And to the 375 people watching on YouTube. Couldn't done it without you. And all the supporters, all the patrons, all the members. I promise next time I will be putting the names of everyone that is a Patreon or member on the end of the stream. So have a great time. See you all later. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Have a great time. So yeah. See you all later. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. I'll see you all Monday. Have happy Easter. Whoever likes Easter, or if you celebrate Easter. I don't really celebrate Easter, but if you do celebrate Easter, happy Easter.